To our March 12th, 2020 Board of Commissioners meeting into session. At this time, I'd like to call on Pastor Alan Jackson from World Outreach Church. I called Pastor Jackson. If you would, please come forward to the well. Pastor Jackson, he's going to lead us in prayer and pray for at this time when there's a lot of emotions in our country. Ask Pastor Jackson to pray over our community and all the citizens of Rutherford County. And followed by our invocation and prayer, I'll call on Commissioner Steve Irvin to lead us in the pledge to the flag and to the pledge to the state of Tennessee. You're recognized, Pastor Jackson.
Thank you, Mayor. And I appreciate your courage and your leadership just in being here tonight. Thank God for you. You know, in times of stress, there is tremendous comfort and hope in Scripture. 2 verses from Psalm 91. He who dwells in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty. And I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress, my God, in whom I trust. Will you bow with me? Father, I thank you for this day, for the privilege and the honor we have of gathering in a public place. I thank you for the leadership of those in this commission that they provide to our county. Lord, for the abundance of our lives and the blessings we enjoy. You say when we lack wisdom, we could ask, and I pray that you would give us wisdom in this season. Lord, the wisdom to understand you are the one who keeps us secure and safe. I thank you for those who labor in our midst on our behalf. I thank you that you will keep us healthy and strong, that your peace and your calm will rule and reign over this county and over Middle Tennessee and over our nation. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. 3 white stars on a field of blue, God and never true. It is with pride and love that we salute the flag of Tennessee. Thank you. I'd like to welcome everyone here tonight. Thank you for all of our guests for attending. Commissioners, thank you as well. Next on the agenda is reading and approval of the minutes.
Roll call.
Roll call, excuse me. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
We have a quorum, 20 present.
We do have a quorum in order to conduct our business. Members, Carol Cook, I'll make an announcement. Carol Cook is not with us. Commissioner Cook, her actually had some major surgery. If you remember, she had some major surgery a year or so ago, and 2 years ago, I guess, and the rod in her back has come loose, so she's had to go back in for other major surgery. So please keep Commissioner Cook in your prayers. She's at St. Thomas Midtown, where she's located. So if you happen to get downtown or want to call her, that's where she is at. Next on the agenda, we have reading approval of the minutes.
Thank you, Mayor Ketron. I reviewed those minutes. I found them to be in order and move that we dispense with the reading and that they be adopted.
Motion made to dispense with the reading and be adopted. Is there a second? Have a second from Shanto Serino. Any further questions? All opposed? All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, motion carries. Next we have on the agenda is Rutherford County Library System Trustee Board Member Lance Lee. Mr. Lee, if you're in the audience, he had requested a moment to come and speak to the commission. Mr. Lee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mayor and Commissioners, I want to thank you for this opportunity that you've given me tonight to come speak to you. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Lance Lee. I'm the chairman of the Linebaugh Library Foundation of Rutherford County. and I am here tonight to give you an update on a proactive approach that our foundation is taking and an event that's coming up in the community, which it takes so many members of the community to make something happen, which you're a huge part of. So as I read the event letter tonight, I want to express my gratitude for what you do and the service that you provide the community, but more, we need your help to make this happen and get this done. So I would appreciate your help in any way you can do that. Obviously, we have reached out and had a save the date for event work that's coming up on May the 2nd. Hopefully, all of you should have gotten that in the mail. I am pleased to announce that we have 4 core sponsorships and leaders in our community. One of those is the J. Harmon team here in Murfreesboro. One of them is Middle Tennessee Electric, Smyrna Ready Mix Concrete, and Atmos Energy. I am reaching out to ask your support for the first fundraising event for the Linebaugh Library Foundation, a lively evening on Main. The event will be held Saturday, May the 2nd, 2020, at the historic Lively House at 746 East Main Street here in Murfreesboro. We will be having free activities for the children from 2 to 4, followed by evening for adults, which will take place from 6 to 10 p.m. Parking will be available across the street at the Central Magnet School. This is very key. The board has decided that the proceeds at this year's event will benefit the Eagleville Bicentennial Public Library. Obviously, the Linebaugh Library Foundation is a 501c3 organization, was created in 2001 as a means to fund long-term projects for Rutherford County Linebaugh system, being recognized as a venue for potential donors, maximize revenue on investments, have a vehicle in place to aid in future capital projects, an example of which would be the branch libraries in growth areas of our county. RCLS is comprised of 5 branches for the public, a bookmobile serving greater Rutherford County community. The Rutherford County Linebaugh system receives funding from 3 cities, Eagleville, Murfreesboro, and Smyrna, and Rutherford County, and is governed by the RCLS Board of Directors. Also, I have my my email and my phone number there. If you have any questions or want to participate in the event, please feel free to reach out. I just want to let you know tonight that we've been a foundation since 2001, but since I've been involved with the actual foundation and became board chair, obviously I don't have to tell anybody in the community how we're growing. So we're trying to take a more proactive approach, get to the citizens, make sure our organization is in front of the citizens, and make sure the 2 entities that work together to make things happen in our community. So I need your support, and we greatly appreciate your time tonight, and thank you for what you do. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Thank you for coming, and Rutherford County and this commission is proud to be a partner with Linebaugh Library Public System. Next, members, we have a resolution. I'm going to read that resolution, but first I'm going to call Kyra Hall, and if Brianna Herod is here, both of you please come forward. Ashley, you can bring them on up here. Okay. This resolution states, members, that whereas Brianna Herod is fortunate to have a dedicated and committed friend, Kyra Hall, who risked her life to save the life of her friend, Brianna Herod. And whereas on Sunday, February the 9th, 2020, Brianna Herod was outside playing and was suddenly attacked by a neighbor's dog. Ms. Herod was bitten several times on her extremities. And whereas Ms. Hall, risking her own life, courageously stepped in and separated her from the dog. And whereas Mrs. Hall hoisted Mrs. Herod onto her back and carried her inside to safety to begin caring for her wounds before first responders arrived. whereas Ms. Hall is a Girl Scout and had received basic first aid training. And now, therefore, be it resolved by the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners and Mayor Bill Ketron that we extend this resolution of recognition as a community lifesaver to Ms. Kyra Hall for her brave and heroic efforts in helping to save her friend, Brianna Herod. Resolved this 12th day of March 2020. Congratulations for being a community lifesaver. Brianna. Commissioner Cush, if you'd give that resolution signed by all the county commissioners here tonight, and we want to thank you for what you have done. That's a feel-good moment. Thank you so much. Now comes on our agenda public comments. Once your name's called, we ask that you come forward, give your name and address, and please keep your comments to 3 minutes. Miss Elizabeth Coker for the Historical Preservation is called in, and she would like to address the committee during our 3-minute public comments. You brought us all Krispy Kreme. Okay.
Start salivating over these Krispy Kreme donuts. I've already eaten 2.
Okay.
I brought this as a prop. I was here just a few minutes ago. Stopped by Krispy Kreme and looked up and I saw that on the original box it says, since 1937. I brought these tonight because...
You'll make our attorney fat. Put it
I hate to start off on the negative. That's why I want to go to the positive first. But we're actually, most people know the history of Krispy Kreme donuts better than they know the Sam Davis Memorial Home in Smyrna, Tennessee. The Memorial Association was established in 1927, 10 years before these donuts were ever thought of. The reason I bring this up is because we've had some extraordinary things happen in the last 2 years. Sam Davis Home has come into some critical financial situations, and they have had to consider some extraordinary measures, I'm told. I want to remind you at this point that there are 2.36 million visitors to Rutherford County tourism. They spend over $367.6 million in travel expenses every year. That's up 5% since 2017. But if we don't have historic preservation in this county, there will be nothing to come to. And the problem we have right now is that they've come to the conclusion they have to sell land in order to make repairs on the home and the grounds. I'm here to tell you that that sale is not necessary. I oppose it. I hope you will join me in opposing it, and I'm going to give you the reasons why. First of all, I have a letter. I've given you a packet. Please open your packets. The first letter is going to be from County Historian Dr. Greg Tucker. Greg Tucker, unfortunately, he blames the city of Smyrna, Mr. Stevens. The city of Smyrna is at fault, according to Greg Tucker, because your leadership is not, as he says it's not on par with the support that they've had for the Sam Davis Home that Murfreesboro has had with Oakland's. I'm going to tell you right now, that is an insult to the city of Smyrna, because I know for a fact that the city of Smyrna has always supported the Sam Davis Home. My great-uncle was a senator in 1927, and he negotiated the deal between the family and the state of Tennessee. And my grandmother was a Davis, so I know the support has always been there. Now, the next thing I want to show is I have a book here of the petition for waiver. It's 137 pages long. It shows that the Memorial Association has failed in their efforts to obtain the maintenance of this home. But I want to show one more question here. I want to say that this Article 5 in the Tennessee Code Annotated says, 1034-3, that in the event that the Memorial Association cannot, if they fail or neglect to take care of the home, then it reverts back to the state of Tennessee. In your packets, there's information that shows that the state of Tennessee has plenty of money to take care of the Sam Davis home. They own 17 properties and they take care of them. I've circled the $750,000 that they've given to the Tipton Haynes site in East Tennessee. I'll be happy to contact each of you this week, and
Mayor
furthermore,
Catherine,
and I will be happy to explain to you.
I move that we suspend the rules to allow her to finish her conversation.
We've got a motion and a second. Motion's been made to let you continue.
Thank you, sir.
All in favor, signify by saying aye. All opposed, motion carries. You may continue.
There's another piece of paper in your packets. It talks about how the state of Tennessee has purchased new property. The Burra Burra Mine State Historic Site in Ducktown. On the back, it shows that the Tipton Haynes site got $750,000 as a rehab. Rocky Mount State Historic Site, $175,000 for an HVAC system. Marble Springs, $420,000 for a historic, they're doing, what are they doing there? They're doing the caretaker's house. They're making repairs to the main entrance. There's all kinds of money because the state of Tennessee, as you well know, has a surplus of money right now. This application that the Memorial Association submitted to the Historical Society was written up, a repair and analysis was written up by Terry Bates and Associates. I want to tell you, I called Mr. Bates and I asked him, Mr. Bates, what experience do you have in analysis for historic homes? And he said, none. This is a whitewash, commissioners. The person that you need to be talking to is on the top of the piece of paper that I gave you, Dan Brown, Historic Properties, Tennessee Historic Commission. He needs to go and analyze the actual repairs that are needed. He is over all these 17, and he was never asked to give his analysis. The other thing I want to point out to you is that there were 3 members on the Tennessee Historical Commission that are lifetime members of the Sam Davis Memorial Association, and they did not recuse themselves from the vote. That is a conflict of interest. There were no public hearings on this. The legislature passed this resolution to change the charter that the family established in 1927, that this historic land was supposed to be in perpetuity cared for by the state of Tennessee. Now, I have a heart for this land, but I even think it's even worse if you have a family who gives the state of Tennessee 168 acres of prime historic property, gives it to them, entrusts it to them, and then we turn around and say, well, we can't figure out how to make ends meet. No, that's not true. In this proposal, they say they need $350,000 to make repairs on the house. They also say they need $150,000 for the cabin, the birth cabin. I was a member of the board in 2011 to 2013, and I found a master craftsman in woodworking who works on cabins, and he gave a $30,000 bid for that same cabin that they say now, 7 years later, they have to have $150,000 for. Something doesn't smell right here, sir. This is what we need to look at. Also included in this proposal, they're going to be selling 4 acres on the corner of Nissan Drive and Sam Davis Boulevard, Sam Davis Road. They're going to be office buildings. I went out there and looked. They say you can't see it, from the house, but you can see the house from the road, so you're going to be able to see this development. It used to be a cotton field. There are children in our schools that do not know what cotton looks like. And unfortunately, I believe that this is a guise, that actually the board has always wanted a all-purpose building to hold events in. They have weddings there, and that's all fine and good. But if somebody would die and leave them a whole lot of money, I think they could build their party barn. But an all-purpose building, they're including in this purchase, this proposal, that it's going to cost $1 million to put this all-purpose building up. And that if there's more money left over from the sale of the land, then they will get their all-purpose building that they say is a revenue-generating building. I have no problem with that, but I do have a problem with selling land. I urge you to look into this matter carefully. Look at the members on the Board of Trustees. We have 2 members of the Board of Trustees that are, I'm sorry to say, developers. And it's headed by a banker. And these are the ones that are pushing for this sale. I thank you for my time. I know that each one of you knows that our heritage is worth protecting. And we don't need structures if we can't already take care of the ones that we have. There is a solution, and I'm going to propose this solution. The state of Tennessee can, according to the Tennessee Code Annotated, if the board fails to take care of the property, it can revert back to the state. They can bring the standard up, they can make the repairs temporarily. The board can still continue to function. We can work this out without selling this historic land. If you have any questions, I'll be here throughout the rest of the evening. I'll be happy to talk with you at any time on this matter. I really appreciate the extension of my time to speak with you, and I thank you for all you do for Rutherford County and the state of Tennessee. Thank you very much. And if anybody wants any donuts, you're more than welcome to have some. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Coker.
Mayor Ketron, I'd like to have a motion to suspend the rules under our rules of regulations, A2, to allow the mayor to vacate the con so that he can make a presentation.
Have a second? We got it. All right. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. So before I provide you with my response to the remarks made by the City Council special workshop meeting that was yesterday, I think it's important that this body of our leadership and the general public to understand how the communications, the Rutherford County Communications Emergency Communication Director Steve Smith is here with us. I'm going to invite him to come up and explain to us, briefly explain the details regarding a 911 call, what that process is here in Rutherford County. And I'd also like to ask our EMS dispatch supervisor, Susie Cunningham, to come up and explain what happens from the EMS perspective. So if the two of you all would come up, Mr. Smith, Director Smith, and Ms. Cunningham, if you two would join me here, and I'll turn this over to Director Smith. Yes, sir.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor Ketron and County Commissioners. I am Steve Smith. I'm the Director for the Rutherford County Emergency Communications District. It's good to see several of you again that I go back to the days when I served as Emergency Management Director from 1997 to 2004. Several of you are still in the audience here as commissioners that I was privileged to work with. If I could take a moment of personal privilege, I first would like to say that based on my 30-year public safety responder and management career, being married to a former chief flight nurse for Vanderbilt Life Flight, and as a resident of the city of Murfreesboro, if I believed for 1 second that the Rutherford County Emergency Medical Services was not performing to the highest level of service possible, you would have seen me long before now, particularly you, Commissioner Irvin, because you represent my district. I've been asked to provide a brief overview of how 911 operates in Rutherford County. I believe they have available for you. I'm sorry if that is not bright enough, but you all know the geography of this community. Each municipality, Laverne at the Laverne Police Department, Smyrna at their police department, Murfreesboro at their police department, and the Rutherford County Sheriff's Department operate a dispatch center capable of processing any 911 call from any location in our county. Now let me add, I don't want to leave out our friends in Eagleville. The Rutherford County Sheriff's Department has an arrangement and an agreement with the city of Eagleville to answer their calls and provide their dispatching. Each of these dispatch points is also connected to each other, as well as the Rutherford County Emergency Medical Services, and all these dispatchers and dispatch centers transfer emergency medical calls to the emergency medical services. The reason for that, commissioners and the listening audience, is because the emergency medical services facility are the only dispatchers in this community who hold the training and the expertise to provide what is known as pre-arrival emergency medical instructions. For example, if someone needed CPR, currently there's a bill moving through the legislature to require that in every dispatch center. Or if someone were choking, or if there was severe bleeding that needed to be controlled. Our 911 system also tracks multiple sources of 911 call data for quality assurance analysis by our staff. And let me recognize our assistant director out here too, Cassie Lowry, who has been a dispatcher at the city of Laverne, also at Rutherford County Emergency Medical Services, has served on our state association board of directors as well. The full details as to how each call may process individually, I believe, would be time prohibitive for the commission this evening. But I and our staff would welcome an opportunity to meet with the Public Safety Committee to answer any of your questions or provide any information the commission may wish to have. I'll conclude my remarks with that, Mayor, and I know your time is valuable, but let me add one last item. We have gone in technology advances to the days of landlines are like the days of dinosaurs. They are extinct. We now receive almost 90% of our calls via wireless communications. So what I wanted you to see by this map is those yellow dots are cell towers that are located within Rutherford County or adjacent to Rutherford County, which may route a call into our county. I can expand on that, as I said, with an opportunity to meet with your Public Safety Committee and perhaps bring you back more information. But I wanted to make clear the point that our 911 system is healthy, our 911 system is performing properly, and we also have the great fortune to have a board of directors who years ago saw the value and the worth in having a redundant or a backup 911 center, which is located at the corner of Fortress and Blaze, and it is capable with 10 positions to act perform either in a disaster or anytime one of those centers that I mentioned goes out of service or has impacted in some way, or quite honestly, it's a good drill when they have to perform some maintenance and they are able to relocate to this location. Your constituents actually would have no knowledge that they were in a different place than where they used to be or normally are. So thank you, Mayor, and I'll conclude my remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Smith. Now we have Ms. Susie Cunningham. Susie will come up and explain.
I have a question.
Chairman,
Recognize Commissioner
I'd like
Gurley.
to address Mr. Smith, Director Smith, if you could come back. I have one thing that I'd like to make sure that we're on the same page that I can clarify. Is it a correct statement that no matter which PSAP in the county, where in the county the 911 call originates, it first goes to a law enforcement public safety answering point and then is immediately transferred to EMS. Is that correct?
Commissioner Gurley, I believe that's correct, and for those that may not understand, all of us that deal in those acronyms, a PSAP is what the FCC designates as a public safety answering point. And you're exactly right. There are primary designations, which are those that you mentioned in the law enforcement arena, and secondary, which is located at EMS. And also, if I could, Mr. Gurley, or Commissioner Gurley, add that the steps that this commission has taken to offer an opportunity for our three busiest PSAPs, being the City of Murfreesboro, the Rutherford County Sheriff's Department, and our Rutherford County EMS, who receives those calls, as you just said, to be operating on the same computer-aided dispatch platform is a wish and a goal for other places in this business, I can tell you that.
Thank you.
Did I answer your question, sir?
Yes.
Thank you.
Other questions from the commission at this time? Other questions? Thank you.
Now we have, thank you, Director Smith. Now we have Ms. Susie Cunningham. She is our EMS dispatch supervisor, accompanied by our director for EMS, Mr. Hudgens. Susie, if you will, give us a kind of a Cliff Notes version of how this operates when a call comes in.
Okay. As we've stated, you have your primary and secondary PSAPs. A PSAP is a public safety answering point or a call center responsible for 911 calls. Your primary PSAP is always going to be law enforcement, so that would be MPD, SO, SPD, LPD. Your secondary PSAP is going to be RCEMS, and we dispatch fire and EMS for the county. Okay, the primary PSAP, the call comes in from the 911 control office, and the law enforcement dispatcher will answer the call, verify the location, and determine which type of help is needed. From there, they're either going to send law enforcement or they're going to send it to EMS for EMS and fire, and they may also send officers. They determine what help is needed. Then it goes to the secondary PSAP, which is Rutherford County EMS. What we do, one dispatcher takes the call, verifies the address, follows all EMD protocols, gives pre-arrival instructions, while one EMS dispatcher validates the address, suggests the closest unit or units to send, and dispatches the call. And then we have another EMS dispatcher who does nothing but keep up with documentation and type traffic. From there, the medics respond to the call.
So the question in talking with Mayor McFarland yesterday, he said that, let's take this example that he used just this past week. A call came in, a lady was dispatched, determined she was having a stroke. And the comment was made that we responded, it was inside the city over Breckenridge, and only our EMS responded, and they said that their fire and rescue never received a phone call. So how does that work?
That would be a primary PSAP issue. We are a secondary PSAP. There is no reason that we should receive it and have to send it back up to a primary PSAP. When the primary PSAP takes the call, they're supposed to verify the location and send it where it needs to go, whether it's a different primary PSAP or EMS.
So if they were mobile, instead of coming in on a copper line, and it was mobile, and it pinged, that phone call came from a cell phone to the closest tower, and it actually went to the sheriff's office first, instead of to, which is our primary PSAP, and went and didn't go to the police primary PSAP, then how can they be notified? How do we change that to where, can we change it electronically? To where they're notified first within inside their city
Yes,
limits?
we're talking about that. There's possibly a way in the CAD to do that where it automatically spawns the calls. That way, everybody gets it at the same time, nobody's getting it ahead of anybody, and then the dispatcher can verify whose location it is and make sure that the appropriate people are sent.
Open it up for questions.
Any other questions? Thank you.
So now I'd like to provide some clarity on statements that were made yesterday. Mayor McFarland and Fire Rescue Chief Mark Fulks. On February the 12th, Mayor McFarland, myself, and public safety leaders from the city and the county and dispatch supervisors of both city and county met to continue the discussion of exploring our co-location possibilities. We've been working on this for quite some time. During the meeting, I raised several questions that could not be immediately answered, including concerns for our EMS dispatchers, dispatching calls for fire and rescue. Later that afternoon, I was contacted by Mayor McFarland, who discussed the issue further with Chief Fulks and informed me that they were willing to move forward without EMS dispatching for Murfreesboro Fire and Rescue. I relayed this change to all personnel involved in the agreement. This is the direction that we felt that we were headed in. It was a starting point with room to progress and expand. At the end of February, I received a phone call from Mayor McFarland stating that they were backing out of the agreement, and I would be receiving a formal letter from City Manager Craig Tyndall about this, notifying me that their staff would be crunching numbers to begin an ambulance service. The letter before you, that's on your desk, are copies of the letter that I received from Craig Tyndall dated February 28th of 2020, stating that they were no longer in favor of this agreement. In yesterday's City Council workshop, several claims were made that our response time for EMS were insufficient for timely response. I disagree with that. I would like to remind you that our Rutherford County has 624 square miles. Our average EMS response countywide is 6.5 minutes. The national average is 7 minutes. Please keep in mind that those numbers change inside the city limits. For March 2019 date, our average response time calls inside the city limits of Murfreesboro has been 5.7. Our personnel have and always will strive to maximize those response times as the safety and health of our Rutherford County citizens and visitors is a priority to all of our public safety agencies. Finally, I still believe that it is in the best interest of our county and our taxpayers to pursue this co-location. However, we will continue to explore ways to enhance our response efforts and capabilities for all agents. We are already working to acquire an advanced interface that will investigate other progressive and innovative options and opportunities. I was asked to sign the interlocal agreement, which I was still, on your behalf, asking questions that I was not prepared to sign that interlocal agreement until, on your behalf, those questions were answered. There were some issues dealing with the power grid, liability insurance. If we start dispatching Murfreesboro Fire and Rescue, where is the liability? Which agency pays if there is a lawsuit? It can be handled if we have some hold harmless agreement in that interlocal agreement from either side, but there was no language in that agreement. Additional training for county dispatchers to include law enforcement, because in that agreement, they wanted us to, in the event of high call volumes, maybe step over if we were co-located and make police dispatching, which is a whole nother level of dispatching when you get into law enforcement as far as the training is concerned. We don't do law enforcement dispatch at EMS. Our sheriff's office handles that. There needed to be a definition in that agreement. What is your definition, city, of high call volume? I would think that it would be in an emergency like a tornado or a flood or some issue of number of calls coming in, not on a daily basis just because it's a high call volume. Discussion about equal salaries for equal positions. I knew that if we co-locate, that if our people are making a different salary than what the city is, you know they're going to talk, being in the same room. I wanted to make sure that we were on an equal footing before I signed that agreement, to make sure that 3 months down the road, we had a problem because we're not paying the same per hour salary. They're on a 401k, the city of Murfreesboro. Our employees are on the state retirement system. That was another issue. The county's access to our data. I wanted to make sure that it was clear in that agreement that we would have access to our own data, even though we were housed in their house, okay? I want to make sure that we had that access. And lastly, the county's fiscal responsibility was never confirmed, and no costs were confirmed before I was asked to sign that interlocal agreement. And that's when the letter came out that they were withdrawing. So I just want to set the record straight here tonight in front of you all that the door is still open. I got a call this morning from the mayor. The mayor has asked that he and I sit down along with Chairman Reed and see if we can work this out. So the door is still open for the co-location process, but I just felt that I had to respond after they made the motion yesterday. It was unanimous that City Council is moving forward and putting out an RFI, request for information, to see if a third party in a P3, public-private partnership, wants to come in and run the ambulance service on behalf of the city, which you can imagine we will have to make major adjustments in hours if that does occur. But I'm hoping we take the higher road and we can sit down as ladies and gentlemen and try to work out this conflict that seems to be going on. I mean, we're all Rutherford Countyans, and we all pay tax dollars. So I hope that we'll be able to work this out and come back to you with a more favorable recommendation. Thank you.
Any questions for Mayor Ketron? At this time, any questions? If not, at this time, I'll turn the chair back over to our chairman and Mayor Bill Ketron.
Thank you, Speaker Pro Tem. I would like to call the commission meeting back into order. Now I would like to call on item I, electronic elections and confirmations. Commissioner Reed, please come forward and read the elections and confirmations. Commissioner Reed, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item 1, the election of notaries. Commissioners, there is a listing of notaries that they may be found on your iPad. Mr. Chairman, I move to confirm the election of these individuals as Rutherford County notaries.
I have a motion. Is there a second? Commissioner Phillips on the second. Any further discussion? Questions? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, steering wishes to announce 5 vacancies on the Board of Equalization and 1 alternate. Steering wishes to confirm the appointment of Maria Krieger, Judicial Commissioner. Mr. Chairman, I so move.
Have a motion. Second, Commissioner Irvin. Any discussion? Any questions? Without objection, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
This concludes this business, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner. Next, item J, resolution to approve consent agenda. Chairman Pro Tem Phillips, you're recognized.
Mayor Ketron, I reviewed these items. I find that they're appropriate for the consent agenda, and that the consent agenda be adopted as presented.
Have a motion and second. Questions? Questions? I'll just second. Commissioner P. Seeing none, without objection, I'll call the roll. Please call the roll, Madam Secretary. Record the vote.
Anyone that did not vote and wishes to vote, or anyone who would like to change your vote, you may do so now.
Motion passes.
Record the vote. 19 yes. Motion passes.
Next, we have item K, unfinished business. We have no unfinished business at this time, and we do not have a public hearing. Now we'll move into our standing committees. First report is Budget, Finance, and Investment Committee. Commissioner P., you're recognized at the well.
Good evening. The only resolution we have tonight is actually a transfer from the drug fund, and that's item M1A. Be it resolved by the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners that the drug fund be amended as follows: from the Sheriff's Office, increase expenditures for motor vehicles $30,000 and a decrease in the restricted fund balance of $30,000. Resolved this 12th day of March 2020. Mr. Chairman, I so move.
Have a motion and a second. Second, Commissioner Irvin. Any discussion? Any questions? We're on the board, members. Please cast your vote.
Anyone that did not vote and wishes to vote, or anyone who would like to change your vote, you may do so now.
Record the vote, Madam Clerk.
19 yes. Motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Next, we have item number 2, Health and Education Committee, no report. Property Management Committee, no report. Public Safety Committee, no report. Public Works and Planning Committee, no report. Steering Committee, no report. Next, we have statements and announcements. Commissioner Harris, you're recognized. Without objection, please approach the well. You're recognized.
Commissioners, thank you. I wanted to share something that was very important. The governor had asked the mayor and this commission to do a proclamation, and March 10th, 2020, and I wanted to read this proclamation to you because it's very important, because I've always constantly tell y'all about the opioid problem. I've always done that, and I wear that with a badge of honor because we're in a fight that is overwhelming. We've had 14 deaths since January 1st. We've had over 200 OD calls, and we've had 20 suicides. I always say those things, but we've done some good things. I mean, this county has stepped up and tried to face this, but the work is so much more. We have gotten over $1 million in grants. We have introduced for our curriculum for the schools to have a more informative opioid education program will roll into August of 2020. And I wanted to there's a lady named Sarah Murphy. I don't know, a lot of y'all know her, a lot of y'all might not know her. But this lady works so hard, and she gets 20 people to come to her thing. She gets 25 people, and she works for hours. And I'm asking all these commissioners, because there's some good men in here and women, that talk with your district, talk with your faith leaders, and help bring awareness to this problem. We do not agree on everything. I'm sure there's a couple in here who don't like me. But we're all honorable, and we all want to help. And I know that. I believe in everybody in here, and I want so bad that we help bring awareness to this. We have gotten a grant to put billboards up, and I want to publicly say thank you, Mayor, to getting that. And I want to read this proclamation, and I appreciate y'all giving me this time. I really do. Rutherford County Proclamation from Governor Lee. Whereas Tennessee is experiencing unprecedented increasing levels of behavioral health concerns, including rising deaths from drug overdose and suicide. Whereas the state of Tennessee has increased resources for prevention, treatment, and recovery services to address the needs of its residents. Whereas community behavioral health providers, local government, community groups, and faith leaders have risen to the challenge in order to meet the needs of those who are struggling and provide hope for a new life. Whereas Tennesseans with lived experience of substance and mental illness are now living lives of recovery and spending hope to others every day. Now, therefore, Bill Ketron, Mayor of Rutherford County, Tennessee, hereby proclaim March 10th, 2020 as Tennessee Day of Hope, and encourage all citizens to join me in this worthy observance. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. I agree. It's a plague upon our community, and thank you for your efforts and all those in our schools and education fields, law enforcement. It takes a community to try to heal this issue. Thank you very much. Any more statements and announcements? What about Smyrna pancake breakfast this weekend? Down here, Laverne Rescue Squad.
Laverne's got one. Laverne Rescue Squad. I think it's 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. Gamble Lane.
Okay. I was thinking
Saturday. And breakfast.
I may be wrong, but I thought I saw where Masonic Lodge in Smyrna is having a pancake breakfast Saturday morning for you people who like sugar and pancakes and syrup. Okay. He's bogarting the donuts, right?
I was going to save some for Sheriff Fitzhugh because he's in the stands.
Oh, no, he didn't get it.
Oh, okay. Commissioner Gooch, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a public service announcement that is very important. Today, Walgreens received a large shipment of toilet paper. Tonight, we're fully stocked. I can't testify what's going to be there tomorrow morning, but it's a 9-roll of Angel Soft, $2.99 with in-store coupon.
Are you kidding me?
Well, any other business to come before us? We have a motion. Commissioner Reed.
I don't think I can top that one, and I wouldn't even attempt to top that.
I don't want you to. It's at the bottom.
I usually have something where out my way they will be eating or whatever, but I want to announce the first out in Rockville. We're having a 5K, and I'm not talking about eating. You can go out there and get some exercise on the 21st, on the morning of the 21st at 9 o'clock. Come out to the Rockville Community Center. The Rockville Rutans and the Rockville Masonic Lodge are working together to help the Rockville High School athletics as well as the junior ROTC, and putting together some funds there to help this new school and those young individuals. And come out there and show what you can do. And if you need more information about that as far as signing up and getting that information, I suggest you go to internet and you can look at that. The Rockville Run is what it is. The Rockville 5K, or the Rocket 5K is what it's called. So this is a first, and to see a 5K running through old Rockville Road is going to be quite interesting. And I think this is something that's pretty good. But I do want to make a comment. We've had the statement made in public comments tonight. Commissioners, I am a trustee on the Sam Davis Foundation. I've been appointed by Governor Haslam twice on that foundation board. The foundation board, as well as the board of directors, has gone through a reorganization. It's gone through an audit by the state of Tennessee. It's gone through an audit by the Tennessee Historical Society. Recommendations was made for it to make some changes. Those changes were made. They are also in the process, I know this Saturday, of doing a strategic planning of things out there. Many of you that know me, you know that I've spent some summers and springs out there teaching children on how to cure meat at the smokehouse as it had been done in those days. I think it was mentioned up here that it once had cotton and we don't have cotton there anymore. Reason for that, we're trying to put that land exactly back as it was. If any of you know anything about cotton, when you have continuous growing of cotton on the land over and over, you soon start developing erosion. And you know that I am a plant and soil science major, and we saw that. So we are rotating crops, and that's why that's changing. We've had cotton, we now have had corn, we've now had soybeans, and this year there's going to be something different. 98 acres out there is going to have nothing but sunflowers in it, and that's a crop, and it's going to be used there for that. There's a lot of work that's gone into that. When you're talking about what has happened out there as far as what is happening for the house, they're wanting that house out there does not have any of the central heating and air in it. They're trying to do some of that. The reason being is for the furnishing and the artifacts that's in there, to maintain it, to protect it. So they've got to come up with that funding. But if you're talking about the selling of the 4 acres, I'm not going to stand here and go through all of that, but I wanted you to know that I am on that board of trustees. If you'd like to contact me and talk to me any more about it, I'm gladly, you know where to find me.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other comments? Commissioner P.?
No, we couldn't leave without talking about Kittrell having a ham breakfast, and it's not till the 21st. So my suggestion is come eat breakfast and then go run that off over at Rockvale.
Okay. Any other comments tonight? Nothing else for the good of the order? Commissioner? Commissioner Dott? Got a motion to adjourn. All in favor, signify by saying aye. We adjourn.